Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Everyone nowadays on X is talking about Apple invites animation, onboarding, experience, and I'm gonna show you my way of doing it in React Native using React Native Reanimated and the open source component that I have created called Marquee. This Marquee component is going to seamlessly repeat or loop through different views, text, any element that you'd like. It also has support for direction, can be horizontal or vertical. You can also specify a speed. And on top of that, it also has support for gestures, so you can scroll on any direction. You can also get the position, basically the offset, or how much have this marquee has scrolled, calculate the active element that's visible on the screen, or you can interpolate and animate the elements themselves. Based on this index, we are also going to render an image in the background with a little bit of blur, apply an entering and exiting animation based on the active index, so we are going to morph between different states. Before jumping into VS Code, I'd like to give a huge shout out to our sponsors. App.js Conference is the biggest React Native and Expo-focused conference hosted in Krakow by SoftwareMention. It's the perfect place to meet the creators of React Native, Expo, and libraries that you use on a daily basis, while also shaping the future of cross-platform development. Mark your calendars. May 28th, 3 days of workshops and amazing talks, packed with insights from developers around the world in this React Native ecosystem. This year, they are introducing a brand new workshop format. For the first time, you can mix and match 2 workshops in a single day. You'll get to choose 2 topics out of 8, each workshop lasting between 3.5 to 4 hours. They're split into morning sessions and afternoon sessions. And I'll be there as well, running both React Native animation workshops. You can start with animations and interactions intro in the morning, and then level up with advanced animations in the afternoon. But of course, you're not limited to animation workshops. You can take the advanced animations in the morning and other workshop in the afternoon, like for example, performance. Also, if you have something awesome to share with the community, the call for papers deadline is Sunday, February 23rd. So if you want to speak at App.js, now is the time to submit your talk. SoftwareMention was kind enough to share with me a pretty big discount code, and I would like to share it with you. So go ahead on App.js.co, use Catalin 20 to get 20% off any ticket. It doesn't matter if it's only the conference ticket or the combo ticket that includes the conference and the workshops. So head over to App.js.co, grab your spot, and I'll see you there. Don't be shy, just say hi. I'd like to say huge thanks to SoftwareMention, first of all for organizing App.js conference, which in my opinion is the best conference that I have ever attended, and I'm doing so since the first edition. And secondly, for sponsoring this video. Your support means a lot to me. Alrighty guys, so we are in VS Code here. I've created the project using Expo, and before we get started, we actually need to install a couple of dependencies. So open up the terminal here and type "ban expo install." We need React Native Reanimated, we need gesture handler, we need the marquee component from Animate React Native, and we also need the stagger component from Animate React Native. The stagger will be used for the footer elements, so we are going to apply a different stagger animation when we are going to mount or unmount the components, and the marquee is going to be used for the looped carousel. Install all the dependencies, start the bundler. Also open a project in Expo-Go. Okay, so we have Expo-Go here, and go ahead and create a new component. Call it Apple Invites. Create the file, Apple Invite, go back to the app, and instead of the view here, we are going to render Apple Invites. We have Apple Invites here, so go ahead on Apple Invite style, flex 1, justify, align items to the same. So we have it in the middle of the screen. Now I have prepared some mock data that we are going to be using. It's basically a list of images that we are going to be using them for displaying inside the carousel and also for the background image. Okay, and let's start by creating the carousel. And first I would like to import from Animate React Native Marquee, I would like to import the marquee component. And this marquee component accepts children that's going to repeat over time. Instead of the text here, let's apply a marquee, and this marquee is going to render a view, and we will iterate over the images, map, get the image and the index, and we are going to return here an item. That's also the image, as image, the index as index, and important, don't forget about the key, so it's going to be image and the index. Okay, let's also create this item, the item function, item image and the index image is going to be a string, index is going to be number, and it's going to render here a view, and inside the view we are going to have an image is going to come from React Native. And source is going to be URI image. Okay, so now we have this error saying, gesture detector must be a descendant of a gesture handler root view. And the reason this is complaining is because, the marquee component depends on the gesture handler. So we need to wrap the entire application with our gesture handler root view. So if we go back to the app itself, where we render the Apple invites, we can say, it's gesture handler root view. That's going to render inside as the children the Apple invites. And don't forget that we need to also pass a flex of 1, so it's going to stretch the entire thing. So now everything should work, but we don't have the images themselves. So we are going to have a style for each individual image. So actually, the style is going to be flex 1. And the reason is because this image is going to take the space of this view. So we are going to say, the view itself is going to have a width of item with a height of item height and border radius. Okay, and the item width is going to be dependent on the screen width. So first we need to get the width from dimensions that's coming from React Native, get the window, and item width is going to be width multiplied by 0.62. So 62% of the screen width is going to be one item width, and the item height is going to be item width multiplied by 1.67. Okay, hit save, and now we have the elements. Great, and also don't forget to apply a border radius of 16 to the image, and also remove the border radius from the view itself. Okay, and now this is looking like this because the view that rendered inside this marquee has a flex direction of column, and we would like to have it a direction of row. But again, marquee is going to say, oh, okay, so this view, it's just taking 62% of the screen width, so let's repeat this n amount of times, so we can also loop through it. Okay, but we would like to make this flex direction of row. And now all the images are going to be, this view is going to contain all the images as a row, and marquee is going to repeat this entire row. Okay, also apply a gap now, a gap of spacing. Let's define the spacing at the top here. So const spacing is going to be, let's say, 16. And the marquee itself, when it's going to repeat that view, you can also specify the gap between cloned items, and you can specify spacing as spacing. So now when it's going to clone another view with this with the images, is going to append the spacing between the elements. Of course, you can do, if it's reverse, it's going to change the offset. If it's not reverse, it's going to move from right to left. And you can also specify different directions, but we will stick with the horizontal direction in this tutorial. Another cool thing about this marquee is that you can specify shared value as a position prop that's going to be changed over time. In order to do so, we actually need to create the offset as a shared value that's starting from 0, and get this offset and pass it down as a position to the marquee. So when the marquee is going to change the offset inside, we will also change this offset shared value, based on which we are going to do some math and see what's the actual index of the image that's currently in the middle of the screen, based on which we are going to render an image in the background, apply some blur and some entering and exiting animations, and force mount and unmount that image so we can create this morph between. Let's start by displaying that image in the background, okay? We are going to have a view here, and this view is going to have an image. The view again is going to have a style sheet that's coming from React Native, absolute fill object, okay? So we are going to stretch the entire screen, and the image is going to have a flex 1. And the source for now is going to be the first image. Convert this to be an animated image, Animated is coming from React Native Reanimated. And to force the mount and unmount of the images, we actually need to specify a unique key. So in our example, it's going to be image by some active index, and also change the images by the active index. And over time, we are going to change this state as active index, okay? So let's create the state itself. So active index and set active index, use state 0. So now we have the first image. So when we are going to say second is the second image, okay? But this is going to be calculated and changed dynamically based on the marquee position or offset position, okay? So what we actually need to do is to use a really special hook available for us in React Native Reanimated, and that's called use animated reaction. So you can react to some shared value changes, and then you can set state, you can call any API. First, we need to import use animated reaction, okay? And this animated reaction accepts two different methods. One is the what to react on, so it's a method that's going to return the offset.value, and another method that's going to get this value and do something with it, and we are going to get a value, and here inside we are going to calculate the index and set state with the index. How are we actually going to calculate the offset? Well, the offset itself, this is a value, It's like if I'm going to console log the value here and open up the terminal here, you'll see that this value is going to change over time, But this is not great, We actually need to have the index of each individual image. So in order to get this offset value based on the screen position and also the item width, it's a simple math formula, and we are going to come here to the first reaction, and we are going to say, return offset value divided by the item width, everything modulo how many images do we have, images.length. And this is going to give us basically roughly what's going to be the index. So now if I open up again the terminal, you'll see it's like, oh, it's 1, it's maybe 2, this is the index. The calculation is not that great because as you can see, we have a gap in between each individual item. So instead of the item width, we actually need to define an item size and take into account that spacing between the items. Define the constant. So its item size is going to be item width plus the spacing, because we are going to apply a spacing between the elements. And now let's recalculate the offset based on this item size, not item width. And what we can do with this value now, if we open up again the terminal, it's a float value, and we would like to have it a fixed value. And to do so, we actually, before we say float index is going to be assign this to a float index, and now we actually need to return a math lore and then the float index. Okay, and now if we open up the simulator, you see it's like now it's going to be 5, and now it's going to be 6, and so on. So even if we are going to move it and basically reload, so you see it's like it's 0, it's 1, it's 2, but there is a small problem. And the problem is that this carousel, it's bidirectional. And now if we are going to move on the left hand side, you see the index, it's actually negative. We don't have any negative indexes inside the images, so we actually need to take the absolute value of that. So where we return the math floor, we actually need to do math absolute value of this floor value, okay? And now open up and it's going to work. And how we are going to set state with this value? Well, we need to use the run on JS. First call the method set active index and then pass down the value. So it's 0, boom, boom. You see? Oh, there is a small issue, right? Because we would like to make the active slide when you are with the edge in the middle of the screen. So we actually need to compensate that by when we do the offset here, we actually need to do plus width of the screen divided by 2. So this divided by the item size is going to give us, who's the active index. So now if the left edge is going to meet the middle of the screen, we are going to set the active index. And now, because we properly get this active index, we can actually apply an entering and exiting animation. But before that, let's blur the image. So we can specify to the image itself a blur radius of 50. So this is going to apply a blur radius to the image. And now we are going to have an entering as fade in that's coming from React Native Reanimated. Is basically mounting the element and also specify a duration of 1 second. And also the exiting. So when we are going to unmount or remove that element, we are going to also have a fade out that's coming from React Native Reanimated with the same duration. And now, just like magic, when we are going to render an image, is going to morph between the changes. You see, we have this small transition and really awesome transition between the elements. Now, there are a couple of things that I would like to fix. The first one is the background of the entire application. I'll say background color is going to be 000. So we are going to have a black color in the background. So now we are not going to see the glitch itself. And I would like to also apply an opacity. I don't want to have like a full opacity when it's visible based on the fade in or fade out, you know. And I could easily go here and change, you know, the opacity to 0.5, let's say, you know. But there is an issue. So if I hit reload here, you'll see that, and of course uncomment the console log value, you'll see that Reanimated is saying, you know, the property opacity, it's already animated by the entering and exiting. So setting the style with an opacity or a custom opacity is going to be overwritten, you know, by the layout animation. So in order to fix that, that's the main reason basically why we have this view wrapper for the image. So instead of applying the opacity to the image that's already been changed by the entering and exiting, we can move that to the parent itself and say, you know, this view is going to have an opacity 0.5 and the animated image is going to have an entering and exiting with a fade in. So Reanimated is not going to complain anymore, you know, this is going to be overwritten. It's not going to be overwritten anymore, you know? And now we have this beautiful transition in the background. Now let me add the elements in the footer, right? So for that, we are going to use the animate React Native stagger element or stagger component it's basically a stagger orchestrator, and it's going to apply a small delay in between each individual elements when they appear or disappear on the screen. We are going to use a stagger that's coming from React Native animate React Native stagger, right? And inside this stagger, I'm going to render some text, and I already have prepared some text for you. So first, let's import text from React Native, and we have like a text saying welcome to animatereactnative.com. And with this stagger, if we are going to say here a key, let's say random, you'll see they appear with a small delay between each individual element. We can also specify the stagger itself, maybe 100, so they will appear with a small, even bigger, you know. Tick, 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 you know, they appear one after the other with a delay in between. And we can also specify some styles. So I'll just apply style. I'll do flex 0.5, just half of the screen, and I'll justify the items to the center and align the items to the center, okay? So I'll align and connect everything here to the center. The duration of the entire stagger is going to be 500. And we can also have an initial entering delay of, let's say, 1 second. So now if I hit reload, you'll see they appear after 1 second, which is great. Okay, great. So we have the footer, and now you see, poof, the carousel itself is going to be rendered directly here without any like animation or anything, right? And for that, we can come to the children here of the marquee, and instead of a view, we can have an animated view. Animated is coming from React Native, and again, we are going to use the entering and exiting animations. So entering, let's say, is going to be fade in from up with a duration of 1 second, you know, and the easing from React Native Elastic, maybe 0.9. Hit reload, whook. There is a small animation, you know. I will also like to delay this, so delay is going to be 500, just half a second. I'm going to delay everything, whook. So they appear from top to bottom, but I don't like the position on the y-axis, so they're starting really small, you know, and I would like to define the y position, basically the initial y position of this fade in up. And to do so, we actually can go here at the end and define with initial values. And I would like to have a transform, translate y, and I will do item height divided by 2 with a minus. So basically we move up half the item height. So now if I hit reload, whoosh, it's going to come really from minus item height divided by 2, which is great, you know. It's like, this is how it's going to appear. It's really smooth. This animation itself looks really good. Let's take another look at it, you know. It's like everything looks already good. Of course, instead of stagger, here I can also add 100 milliseconds. So it's like they are going to appear really fast. But in addition to everything, Apple is doing something really awesome. And that's the rotation, or small rotation for each individual element within this carousel. So when you are in the middle of the screen, you have rotation 0. And then if you are on the left hand side, you have like we rotate, we interpolate based on the position and rotate the element. And that's quite tricky to do, right? But the nice thing is that we actually have access to the offset. We also have access to how many images we are displaying, and we also have access to the item size, based on which we are going to define the range or the window where this element with index 0, let's say, is going to be visible, and we are going to apply a different interpolation and change the angle, for example, okay? It's more like phases, you know, if it's entering, if it's in the middle, or if it's exiting, you know. So we are going to define that range. And to do so, we actually need to come where we render the item and pass this offset, you know, like the offset, the shared value that we have just created. Okay, so item. So item, it's going to also receive the offset. So we are going to have the index and also the offset. And now if we go to the item itself, also add the offset here, and the offset is going to be, you know, offset the shared value as a number. Okay. What we can do with it is create a animated style, define this range, and then use interpolate to change the angle, you know. And let's start by creating here the styles, and the styles is going to be use animated style, and then we are going to return some styles. And with these styles, we would like to apply it to the view that's rendering the image, okay? So we are going to first transform this to be an animated view, and also have the styles applied to this animated view. Okay, nothing should be changed here, everything should work the same, but now we can come to the animated style and apply some math and get this range, you know, where this in this image, let's say this image here is going to be come to the scene, be fully visible, and also exit the scene. You know, this is the range that we are interested in. First, we actually need to get the item initial position. So I'll say item position is going to be, you know, the index multiplied by the item size. Then we also need to calculate the entire size of this marquee element. So I'll say, you know, the total size is going to be images length multiplied by the item size. Okay, that's great. And now we can also calculate the range itself. So range is going to be the item position, and we are going to subtract the offset value. It's basically, you know, this is the initial position, this is the offset. So we are going to take whatever the item initial position is and offset it pretty much to start from the left edge of the screen. And now we are going to get this and do modulo by the total size. So now the range is going to be between 0 and width of the screen. If I console log the range, but only console log only if index is 0, you know, I'll console log the range, okay? So hit reload. You see the range is going to be minus whatever, and it's going to just decrease. But the thing is that I'm actually interested in applying an initial offset as well to the elements. So I would like to have the range starting from the when the left edge of the image is at the right edge of the screen, and when the right edge of the image is on the left edge of the screen. So for that, we actually need to increase the window range. Initially, I'll subtract here the width of the screen minus the item size divided by 2. And on the range itself, I will add here to the entire thing, I will add the width plus item size divided by 2. Okay, so in this way, we are going to have a different range. So the range is going to be between minus item size and width, pretty much. So now we can go back to the transform. State is going to be interpolate, and we are going to interpolate the range, and the input range is going to be minus item size, middle of the screen. Let's leave it as 0 for now, and then the width of the screen. Left hand side is going to be minus 3 degrees, otherwise is 0, otherwise is 3 degrees. So it's going to come like, it's going to be something like this, you know, it's going to come, is 0, and then is moving, you know, something like that. And the thing about the rotation is this needs to be a string, so it's going to be interpolate and then pass the degrees, okay? So now we have some sort of rotation. So if I hit reload again, we have a sort of rotation, you know, it's like, it is not what we actually want to have. Yeah, there is a small issue. So this is going to be minus item size 0 and width, okay? And now as you can see, like when the left edge of the image is going to be 0, it's going to have 0 degrees. And we would like to actually offset this to be here in the middle of the screen, you know? It's like not at the edge of the screen, but in the middle of the screen. So instead of 0 here, it's going to be width minus item size, everything divided by 2. If reload, everything is going to work. There is a small issue. And the issue is that, you see, when, again, the offset is going to be negative, we are going to mess around with the interpolation and nothing is going to pretty much work. And there is a small hack, you know, what if we are going to compensate by 1000 times? Basically, we are going to say, you know, the offset, it's actually when the user has already scrolled through the entire marquee 1000 times, and then we are going to calculate it. So we are going to say, you know, this offset is going to be the offset value itself plus the total size multiplied by 1000, you know, just offset everything by 1000. So now it doesn't matter how, I mean, you can fake it. So you can scroll 1000 times, you know, in the past, but who's going to do it? So in this way, we are going to fix this small thingy that we had with the offset value itself. That was it, guys. It was an intense tutorial. I'm not gonna lie to you. There was quite a lot of things happening on the screen, you know, from the marquee element to the rows to the entering and exiting to also a stagger element. And then we had some math to calculate where the actual element is going to be visible, calculate the left edge with the right edge of the screen and the right edge with the left edge of the screen. Is like, it's insane. It's like there are quite a lot of things to digest, but at least we went through it. And I hope that you have learned something new and you can apply it in your existing project. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, you know, subscribe also and hit the ring bell notification to be notified whenever I'm posting a new video or I go live, which I hope that I'll do more frequently. Otherwise, thank you very much for staying with me and see you in the future video. Bye bye, guys.